Joseph? What organizations have you been involved with on and off campus, and how will the work with those organizations influence your work as GPSA president?
I think to really understand how groups of people work, and which is one of the huge roles of the GPSA president, you have to be involved and come with a perspective from a lot of groups of people. My history of working at UNM as a student leader spans about 6 years, and I have been involved in a lot of different activities. I worked and lived on campus for 5 years, working in the residence halls for 4, and that was a great opportunity because that is a pretty diverse group of students for the most part in the residence halls, especially in the different capacities that I worked in the residence halls. Around the university, I was involved as an undergraduate, obviously, with the student government, and GPSA as a graduate student with the council for the last year. But besides that, I have served on various committees across the university, appointed both by students and student leaders, by bodies of students, as well as groups including the staff, faculty, administration into certain roles. And I think that that's important to take into consideration because there are a lot of opportunities at UNM, and I think that a lot of students don't have access to those opportunities, and I think that people need to be able to provide more opportunities for these students to know about the opportunities that they can have as a student leader at UNM, and that's obviously one of the big positions that I'm pushing forward with this campaign idea of getting more people involved in GPSA to make it a more representative organization. Specifically off campus, in New Mexico, I've been involved with nonprofits like Big Brothers Big Sisters. I've been involved as a leader with the scouting program, the Roadrunner Food Bank, Ronald McDonald House, lots of charity work and things like that. And so I understand the importance of making sure that the UNM community extends beyond the circle around UNM. And I think that's a big thing for students, especially since a lot of our students are commuter students at UNM, and they are connected in a bigger capacity with the outside community. So I feel like I do have a diverse experience working with a lot of different organizations, both on and off campus at various levels. And I think that's important to come to the table with, specifically because GPSA and being a leader for an organization that serves to benefit so many students, you need to understand the connections that can be made. And I think that that's a vital part of being a leader, providing those opportunities to other people to get involved on campus.
Katie?
So the first group that I joined when I came to UNM in the winter of 2008 was a group that I founded. And that was, I'm from the physics and astronomy department. Don't hold it against me, but I do love science. And as a woman in science, I looked around at my fellow graduate students and I noticed that women were 1 in 6. And then I looked at the faculty and they were 1 in 10. And that was worse than any department that I had ever been in as a physicist in my education. And I'm here to tell you today, I still have not actually had a woman teach me in a physics class. I've had female teachers teach me engineering, but not physics. So I felt that it was necessary to create a group that would protect and provide motivation for these women to continue in their careers and not be part of this leaky pipeline all the way from undergraduate to graduate to the upper levels of professors and administration. And so this group, we decided to name ourselves Smart Women in Physics Together. So it's a little cheeky, and the acronym is SWIFT. So we actually brought mentors in to the department from around the Albuquerque community, Sandia Labs, Los Alamos Labs, and we were able to speak with these women. How did they, in 30 years prior, overcome the barriers that were facing us today, and how should we form our careers and balance family and work life as well? So that was the first organization I became a part of, and through my leadership role there, I actually became connected with the GPSA and have since served in the GPSA, and that's been my main involvement on campus. And through the Student Fee Review Board in particular, I've had the opportunity to become familiar with the 25 or 26, depending on the year, student groups across campus that ask for student fee money. And my priority over the past 2 years, my priority as president, will be absolutely to fund those groups that enhance student recruitment, retention, and academic success. Because at UNM and across this nation, we have a pipeline problem. How do we get undergraduates to graduate school? How do we get graduate school students graduated and into jobs and faculty positions? And I think that there are groups around campus, such as the ones hosting this debate, African American Student Services, American Indian Student Services, El Centro de la Raza, LGBTQ Resource Center, International Programs Services, that are directly affecting student lives. And I think that that's what I was trying to do with SWIFT, and that's what I care about in terms of making sure that students have the tools that they need to succeed. So yeah, that I think answers the question.
Patricia?
On campus, since I enrolled, which was several years ago, about 3 years ago, I've been very active in the public administration graduate student, and I'm the current president and have been for 2 years. Also, I'm a member of the Community and Regional Planning Graduate Student Association. And on campus, I've also gotten very involved with a number of student organizations, in particular housed out of this El Centro, the Raza Graduate Student Association, the Project for New Mexico Graduates of Color, and the list goes on campus. I think it's very important that when you're a student that you are actively engaged in the community, the student community that you belong to. In addition to that, I've been an active member of the LULAC organization, which is the League of United Latin American Citizens. LULAC is the oldest Hispanic serving organization and civil rights organization in the United States, and I'm proud to say that I sit on the National Board of Directors as the parliamentarian. But I also think that it's very important to participate in those in community issues, and my life has been dedicated to working for disenfranchised communities that have been historically underrepresented and who have suffered and lived in poverty. So I'm also very involved in the University of New Mexico Family Health Clinic. I sit on the advisory board of one of the clinics. And this is very important to mention because there is a direct connection between our university community and our overall community. It's when we become disconnected as university students and community that we lose sight of what we're gaining our education for, on whose benefit and whose behalf are we going out to be in service. I've lived my life in service. I have not lived my life to promote myself in a particular position or to garner resume builders or accolades for my profession. I've lived my life in service, and as such, I've given my time. In addition to all of those involvements, I think when we lose sight of the connection of the university and the community, then what we're doing is that we're losing sight of what are the issues that our community is facing that we need to be assisting in empowering the community with. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we as a university are in tone and in tune with meeting the needs of those communities. So that means graduating students, channeling them, and supporting them in career and professional services so that when they go back in the community, they can very adequately continue to be of service and empower their communities, because after all, that is what they're going to the university for, to attain those attributes to be able to assist in their communities.
Jacob.
Thank you. I think that when you look at the activities that anyone's involved in, it gives you a sense of their heart and what they care about. And I'll share with you what I dedicate my free time, little as it is, to. I sit on the Albuquerque Human Rights Board, which is the board that adjudicates claims of unlawful discrimination made in the city of Albuquerque, both in the private and public sector. And I've been on that for about a year. And we unfortunately deal with an escalating amount of discrimination cases made against people of color in the service sector industry. And I think that a lot of it has to do with the anti-immigrant rhetoric that's unfortunately seeping into the state of New Mexico right now. And so that keeps me quite busy. I'm also on the board of trustees for Educate New Mexico, and this is an organization that raises money to give educational opportunities, scholarships to low-income students, regardless of race or ethnicity, to ensure that students from a lower socioeconomic standing can access the same sort of educational opportunities as kids that come from a more sort of economically fortunate background. You know, so I think that gives you a sense of the things that I care about. Inclusion and working, you know, to make the place that's given me so much a little bit better for the kids that, you know, are still in the neighborhoods that I lived in and was born and raised in. You know, but I think that the most important thing for this debate and for this race is really the opportunities I've had in my professional career up till now, as short as that's been, admittedly. You know, I was a program analyst with the Legislative Finance Committee, and then I went on to serve as the special deputy for the Speaker of the House here in New Mexico. And I know how public education and higher education finance works in this state. And I have a keen understanding of the ways in which this state is not living up to its commitment to its 4-year research institutions. I mean, essentially, we fund in this state the University of New Mexico in the same way that we fund Central New Mexico Community College. And that just does not recognize the special role that research and public service plays on this campus. So what I bring to the table, you know, I think all of us have a unique and real desire to serve and make our community better. But what I bring to the table is that critical experience working at the state level and those critical relationships to really work with GPSA to start talking about issues like tuition and research at a state level, because that's where we really need to solve the problem. Because unless this state really steps up and takes control of the tuition issue and the research issue, we're going to be facing these challenges year after year. You know, and I'll guarantee you that whoever wins this election, I'll be proud to help in that effort, because it's something that has to happen if we're ever going to make real progress.
Thank you, guys. Next question be directed at Katie.